Joining us on this week's show is the 2007 Heisman winner and Florida Gator legend, Tim Tebow. How have you been, Tim?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm good. We're excited to have you on the show, of course, so we appreciate you as always. First and foremost, you're part of the All-State AFCA Good Works team. And before we preview the upcoming college football season, tell us what y'all got going on.
Well, this All-State AFCA Good Works team is something that's so near and dear to my heart. It's actually something I was fortunate to be a part of my senior year, and I love it because there are so many awards that all these young men get for how they play on the field, but this is one of the few for who they are off of the field. And there are 114 nominees, and the final team will come out in a little over a month, so it'll be exciting to see. But I encourage all the viewers to check out all these young men's bio and see all the amazing work they're doing. Whether that is, volunteering, it's starting their own foundations, it's going on mission trips, it's going to hospitals, it's boys and girls clubs, it's so many amazing things, but they're making such an impact. And that's why it's my honor to be an ambassador, to be able to tell their story a little bit, because it's worth hearing. And, there's so many amazing awards out there, but this is a really cool one.
Well, thank you so much for doing that. I know it's such an exciting time of year, and I'm sure you're looking forward to seeing what happens this season just as much as we are. I first want to talk about conference realignment with you. I want your opinion on this. Do you agree with Nick Saban that super conferences could create a sort of a caste system of haves and have-nots in college football?
Well, I don't know if it. I think we really got to try to understand it first, because it depends what are the, how does it break down, right? Is there going to be an SEC, a Big Ten, and then what are the other conferences? Is there going to be a third? Is it going to be anything emerging between two? Is it going to be a standalone? And I think the final product matters. I think it's really hard to speculate in a hypothetical on if it does work, if it's not going to work. I think the one thing that I would really love to see, as such a diehard fan of college sports and especially college football, is I want to see the rivalries and the traditions stay. Like, I know that there has to be change, and I think sometimes change can be a good thing. And so let's work it out and figure out the right conferences and, the right things for all these teams. But let's keep these awesome games. Let's keep the Army Navies. Let's keep the Florida States. Let's keep the Florida Georgias. Let's keep all these great rivalries. And, I still want on Thanksgiving weekend to be able to watch USC, UCLA, and all the amazing games. And so I think that's one of the lifebloods of college football, is those traditions and those pageantries. And I hope we can still, as so much is changing, we can keep some of those things.
With these mega conferences potentially brewing, how do you think that could impact the college football playoff? Does expansion feel inevitable as well?
Well, I think if it does, let's just say it breaks down into 3 mega conferences. I do think that you're looking at a bigger playoff, because I think it's going to be so hard. You're only going to have 3 conference winners, and now you're going to be saying, well, is it getting a conference championship? And so there's so many other things to work out that I do feel like it sets up more for a bigger, larger playoff.
Name, image, and likeness. We saw Saban and Fisher kind of air out their frustrations this offseason, with NIL being the main wedge of that frustration. Yeah, it was fun for all of us, but what's working and not working right now with name, image, and likeness in college sports, do you think?
Well, I think there's a lot of great things that are taking place for a lot of amazing athletes, but I also think that there has to be some guide rails and some rules put into place that people know exactly what's happening. I think that's one of the weird things, and just people don't know exactly where is the start and the end game, And I think it's important that they're always, for anything to really succeed, there has to be guidelines for it, and there has to be some sort of rules. And I think it's important that we continue to figure that out for the health of college sports and the health of all these amazing student athletes.
Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, they very well could go 1 and 2 next year's draft. They're very much so the front runners for the Heisman this year as well, on teams very much favored to be in the Natty. What makes each special from your perspective?
Well, I think if you just start with Bryce, I think it's his poise. I was just with him last week in Pasadena for some commercials for the Nissan Heisman House. And it's just, even in that, he's just so poised. Like, he's just like, some of his first bigger commercials, and he's like, it is just a calm,
It's casual.
and nothing phases him. And I think that's amazing. I think we saw that last year, right? Like, he had a really below average game against Auburn for 59 minutes. And you know what? It didn't matter because the last minute he was the best player on the field. And it takes a lot of confidence and belief and poise to be able to do that in those moments. And plus he's got a whole lot of talent. And then I think when you talk about CJ, you talk about someone that I think can spin it about as good as anybody in college football right now. He's got such a talented arm, and he's got a really good supporting cast around him. And I also think that he's just driven in his competitiveness. I think he's got a lot stronger in the offseason. I think that's going to help. And so it's fascinating to watch the two of them play this year. I'm excited. Plus they got a lot of great games throughout the year. So that's going to be really fun to see. And I think there's some other guys that could make a run at this thing too. If USC plays well, Caleb Williams will have a shot. There's I think Will Anderson's probably the best player in the country, the defensive end for Alabama. I thought he should have been a finalist last year. I also, if I had to throw in a super, super dark horse for the Heisman,
I was going to say, give us your dark horse.
I would throw in Deuce Vaughn, the running back at Kansas State. I don't know if their offensive line will be good enough, will win enough games, but he is an absolute monster.
Wow. All right, so if it happens, we're coming back at you. We're going to hold you
Perfect.
to it, okay?
Sounds good.
Bryce, I want to ask one more question to you about him. So I know he's in a unique position, much like you were, winning the Heisman his first full year as a starter, but not winning it all. You followed up your Heisman by winning the national title in 2008. So what advice do you have for him this year?
I don't know if he needs much advice from me, but I would say that I think it's so important that he continues to surround himself with such good support system like he has with his parents. They're amazing. They've done such a good job with him. And he's just, he does a great job of keeping the main thing, right? And him focused. And we had some great conversations this last week. And, he could have a chance to get caught up in a lot of this other stuff, but he's not, right? He's doing some of that, but his focus every day is training. It's his team, it's preparation, it's getting ready for week one. And I think it's just that balance, right? And it's amazing. And you would say, well, he's coming back, and so there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. And I don't think so. I think in his mind, I think there's more of an edge than pressure, and that edge is we didn't win the national title, and I think their whole team is rallying and kind of being galvanized around that of we were just a few inches short. And I think there's a lot of inspiration that they're going to draw this year, and I think they're going to be a pretty darn good team.
Last question we have for you, Tim, and thank you again so much for your time. Of course, the SEC starts with Alabama and Georgia right now, but Florida's in an interesting spot with new head coach Billy Napier and quarterback Anthony Richardson. Some have compared Richardson to you and Cam Newton in terms of ability, but what's the ceiling for Richardson in this Gator program right now?
I don't know that there is a ceiling for Anthony. He is so talented. He is so gifted. You watch him throw, run, lift. I mean, he's incredibly gifted. And now he's really got to do his best to try to stay healthy and bring that to the field for 12 consecutive weeks. And I think that's the biggest challenge for him. And I'm really excited about Coach Napier. I think he's done a really good job so far. There's a lot of pressure when you're the head ball coach at Florida. But I also think he's ready for that task, and he's very poised, very mature. And I also think he's not just a coach; he's more of a CEO. And I think he's building I think in his mind, it's about the long-term success, right? It's not just about 1 year, but it's building a program that can be sustained every year. And I'm sure he learned some of that when he was at Alabama from Saban and everything. But it's really impressive to see the way that he works.
Hey sports fans, if you want to watch more sports seriously, be sure to check out these clips right here. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see all the great content from us here at USA Today Sports.